But I did, now
I didn't say it. You did. Tilapia? Well, it's a finish, not it's a fish fry. Good evening.
Like today, I thought. I can't really change up. Oh, now. That's funny. Yeah, both of my brothers had their.
In exchange for that, you're going to lead us in the pledge. You're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. Coming right now. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, being led by one of our finest.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What do you say? We shall give it to you easily. Welcome to our first regular meeting of the month of August 2026 for the Ballston Spa Village Board of Trustees. Let's go. No minutes for consideration? Is that accurate?
No, 30 minutes.
I was going to say, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of July 27th, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price-Bush.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Just to clarify, while I wasn't at that meeting, I reviewed the minutes, so.
Yep. And you're allowed to vote still, yes?
Yes, just if there's any confusion.
Not your first rodeo here, I'll tell you. Presentations, there are none. Public comment on agenda items only, 3 minutes per speaker. If you're on Zoom, this will be a time to raise your hand to speak as such. And is there anybody, I should say, in the House that would like to speak? I see my guy Colucci's hand.
Thank you. Good evening. Mike Icolucci, 3 Encore Drive. Just a question with respect to 7B. I think I understand the idea of a burial drop of a line. So I got that one. I'm just curious for the John Street water tank, what is the wireless IP and why is it being put there?
Telemetry. We have an issue with our T-Mobile system currently that's in place, the technology there. And what it allows us to do is monitor levels and control levels accordingly via that, so that if there's issues, we can get alarms back, et cetera. So there's basically a two-way communication ability to make sure that things are going correctly inside that tower with the water levels.
And I guess follow-up question then, the cellular communication itself is not capable of...
It's unfortunately the equipment related to it and how it works. You would be shocked. We have been shocked. And no, unfortunately, it has been a heck of a ride trying to get that one to work right. Anybody else? Seeing none, hearing none, let us move. Anybody want to remove anything that is on the consent agenda, excuse me? Hearing no desire to remove anything, can I get a motion that the consent agenda be approved?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondenza.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the resident at 60 High Boulevard to be reimbursed $2,350 for sidewalk repair? DPW has checked the replacement and verified accordingly.
Make the motion.
Trustee Dubuque.
I'll second.
Trustee Price-Bush. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve slick fiber to perform burial drop of a line at Ralph Street for Kelly Park and the pool to have Wi-Fi. Burial drop fee is a one-time $200 one-time fee for wireless access point. And boy, my English on this one I didn't correct. And a one-time fee for wireless access point will be $300, and monthly fees will be $84.95 per month. It is also approved that Slick at 30 John Street at the water tower location shall install the wireless IP for $84.95 per month for tower communications. This motion allows the mayor to execute and sign all paperwork to complete this contract.
Make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. And this, we're actually trying to maximize this for utilization purposes to also reach the pavilion area in Kelly Park so that we both have the pool and that covered with some Wi-Fi coverage over there. So we try and be a little strategic on that and also then maximize the service level. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the Ribbon Cafe to hold a fundraiser for County Firefighters Cancer and Disabilities Foundation on September 12th, 2026 from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. This includes setup and breakdown. This motion includes approval of closing parts of Prospect Street. A certificate of insurance is on file.
Make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
I'll second.
Trustee Price Bush, discussion. Thanks to Kevin and Christine for all they do
Yeah.
for our area and for the cancer charities. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the Committee on the Arts to be issued 2 sidewalk permits to utilize space in front of Miss Priss Boutique with permission granted from the owner and a small section along Front Street by the parking lot near the bench, not to impede sidewalk use for residents or foot traffic. This would only be valid for the art fair on August 22nd, 2026 from 9:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Trustee Dubuque.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Here's announcements. I want to cover 5 different topics here that have been coming to our attention and seek some guidance from the board, or at least get the board thinking in the direction with respect to these issues. First, we began some concerns. I called them complaints earlier, and I was scolded for it, so I've got to call them concerns about the cell carrier situation of the water tower. And I want to be clear about something that I think has gotten misconstrued about the monopole and whether or not that's creating issues and everything else. We are in the middle of a situation where equipment is being put onto that monopole, and the retirement of equipment that is currently on the John Street water tower. We're somewhere in the middle of all 3 carriers switching that service over. There's been a period of power outage there to allow some of the movement to occur, and I think only one of the 3 carriers decided to go for a generator to keep their level of service up. The other 2 may not have at that point in time. There may still be inconsistencies for all 3 carriers. T-Mobile may be the worst out of the 3 coming up from what I understand. It's tough to pin them down on this. We have calls, pretty much a couple times a week now trying to get this all squared away. But the long story short, I want to remind people is this. Even if we didn't do the monopole, what would have happened is the same exact thing with a temporary pole next to the water tower, because we can't paint the water tower or rehabilitate it with that equipment on it. And so what would have had to happen was a temporary pole or poles would have been located in that area. The equipment would have been moved off the water tower to the temporary poles. Then, instead of just staying where it was at that point, like it will now with the monopole, the equipment would have been put back on the water tower at that point in time. Rinse and repeat, no pun intended, but when we had to do the work again in X number of years on the outside, the same process would have been necessary. This is a rip the Band-Aid off once type of moment for us to basically permanently solve this problem of having to take it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on, and always risk more bolting to go on inside of our water source, water tank, whatever you want to call it. So I just want to be clear that, yes, it's terrible that we have to go through some period of bad cell service during this, but A, we're hoping it improves cell service around it much better overall, and B, this actually solves the never-ending problem we were in of having to take them off and put it back on and have all this disruption up there every time we had to paint the tank. It's loud enough when they have to sand out that tank and rehabilitate it, but on top of everything else, all the stuff that's going on with closing the street for the monopole and all this other stuff that's going on would have been perpetual over years. And that's one thing that I'm happy that we're able to actually squelch moving forward with respect to that. So nothing really needed from the board on that one. With respect to Route 50, there ain't much respect. To be clear, it is not the village's project. It is not the village's road. The village has been in contact with with DOT, sorry, Scott, with DOT multiple times, and they have tried to work with us to figure out what's going on and how to resolve this. We're sitting in the awkward position again today of a possible rain forecast tonight, and so this thing may not get done again until tomorrow and Wednesday instead of Monday and Tuesday as we were hoping, which was originally hoped for Thursday and Friday of last week. You can see where I'm going with this. So once this is done, there's going to be a lot to be said. I believe that Ballston Spa is a community that doesn't wish this on our neighbors to have happen, and there were a lot of things that we caught along the way that were clear mistakes by both the contractor and DOT along the way. And we're at that phase right now where we don't care whose fault it is, we just want the damn thing done. Once that damn thing's done, that's when we're going to be, yeah, watch my mouth, but you know what? I think everybody is a little sick of it to the point of using choice language. That's when I will be actually sending a letter to both Peckham, the contractor, and to DOT to explain what we have identified as some real grievous errors in a 3 to 4 week project that's now in week 10. We agree with everybody. There's just not much we can do besides complain. We do, and you can see how far it's getting us at this point. So they are in control of their own destinies and ours at this point, and we will monitor it and hope that it ends soon. Stuff I do need assistance with to a degree. Earlier this year, Pete Stasiak in our DPW group staff, we decided with his experience in our water department and chasing down water meters, et cetera, and some other stuff that was going on at that point, to dedicate Pete to water as kind of a water department operator only. He's still available to assist when absolutely necessary with other matters, but instead of putting him out to plow, his overtime is going to be essentially from doing the water testing, et cetera, that is routine each weekend and everything we do here. So we've been having a good, go of it with Pete. He likes what he's doing with respect to it. He's very knowledgeable with respect to it. The problem is that we've been chasing delinquent readers in terms of people that aren't turning in their readings frequently. Now, there's a plus and a minus to all this. The plus is that we do send a fee related to this. We do still charge them the minimum in each case. The only thing that's going wrong here is that if they're using more than the 30,000 minimum, then we're not getting the usage, the extra usage. In many cases, there is none. In some, there is. I hate to break the worst kept secret in the world. There are people that will intentionally misreport their water, hoping it never gets found. And once they sell a property or once we go swap out that meter, it gets found. And there's a case of somebody, I think, at Rollins Street or somewhere with a $13,000 overage now because of the 1.5 million gallons of leakage or misreporting or something that occurred in that situation. That said, now chasing that money down is going to be real fun for us. And so the plus minus is coming down to this. Pete's chasing after these. He's not getting good responsiveness. We have to take additional measures as a board to stop wasting resources and staff time to this degree. There are some people that did cooperate. There are many that did not. In fact, without showing names here, if I can get away with it, everything that's in green here has been chased down. Everything in yellow is a maybe coming up, and then everything else is no. And there's over 60 what we call 3+ right now. People or accounts that are 3+ readings delinquent at this point. So that's a year and a half of water readings. We need to figure something out, whether it be publishing delinquent readers somehow, if that's something we're allowed to do. We'll talk to Carla. Jordan can send that message for us. We've got to do something more because, again, we have a small enough staff in our DPW And when Milltown comes on, I'm hoping that we do add some staff in the water department, because that will push us, if they do build out completely, to around 3,000 users at that point, which is probably up about 700 from when you and I took office, Bernadette, back when we were around 2,300 at that point. We'll be around 3,000 then. So this system has grown up quite a bit and does need the proper staffing. You know, it's nice to have the extra money to go spend on modernizing the system. Part of modernizing the system is having the staff needed to operate the system properly at all times. So I'm open to ideas. If anybody has any thoughts right now, feel free to say so, but this is a problem that's weighing on us, and I've, at this point, have put a moratorium on Pete going after more than about 10 of his favorite ones that he thinks he can convert at this point, because we've got to get him trained in some other things and moving on some other issues right now. We can't be chasing our tail every day with people not showing up when they say they're going to let them in for a read, et cetera. Anybody have any thoughts real quick on it?
When we did those letters earlier this year to those,
They were effective, yep.
would it be worth?
It's one option.
Yeah.
You tend to not want to threaten shut off of water at 3, but there's
That's
a
what I'm
number
asking. I'm
somewhere.
not sure what the appropriate.
The worst I saw on here was 10, I think, 5 years. So, you know, we got some of the worst ones off for sure in the process, but realistically, we still have issues here. A lot of 4s, 5s that are in there, so 2+ years of no compliance fully. And again, it may lead to no revenue, because we're already getting the revenue from the fee and from the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you won't know it, but do you want to chase a maybe, or do you want to have some other way to get him in those places, maybe get a button, an outside button for those that have shown repeated disregard to this, so that we can just press it outside and get a reading and charge them for it that way, or something along the lines. Because there's, you know, you want to have a trust and a loyalty to your users, but if they don't have the trust and loyalty back to you, then the system will break in this respect.
So mainly we're talking about 3+. There's not like giant, like super delinquent ones beyond that, or.
We solved the 39, we solved the 10, it looks like, and we've got a 9 or a 10. I think that I've seen 9, but I think it's 10 actually. So this may be a delayed list. Actually, I think it is from last period. But no, the long story short of it is that 5 and 4 seems to be a sweet spot on what I'm looking at, and 3. But again, we're chasing what at that point? Any thoughts?
Is there a way, I mean, how much would it cost to put in a button? Send those people a letter, tell them we're going to.
But we still have to get in, because the button only works if we get access to do the read send to the button, basically. So no matter what, we've got to get in to do that. But now, how do we get in the first place? I think we do the button either way. Honestly, yes. But how are we going to tell these people we have a right to be in there to get that reading, or there's another circumstance we're going to have to impose on you with respect to this?
Has that been expressed legally, like a formal letter, like we have a right to access?
I don't think, how far have we gone? You've been kind of in the middle of some of this.
With the new people, with the new delinquent people,
Well, let's say the 3 through 5s, maybe.
just the regular bills and phone calls and posting from water department. There hasn't been a me letter saying, it's part of the code, you have to let us in. We haven't done that.
Okay.
He's been aggressively
Sure.
calling, leaving messages, and he does it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And he posts the house, which means he goes to their house and puts a thing on the front door that says, hey, we need to talk to you. And we've gotten no result.
Interesting. Okay.
But again, you know, you're spending half of a salary essentially, or half of a pay,
Just that.
just chasing something you're not even getting. By the way, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Jennifer, our village administrator. I don't want to know what that is. Ellie?
An Easter bunny.
Okay. Pete, it was Ellie Dillon, not me, okay? No, but think about it. We'll talk to Carl a little bit more about maybe some strong legal options with respect to it. the code says what it says, but look, privacy laws also probably say certain things too, and you get caught in the middle of those scenarios. But I don't feel comfortable spending good money after bad type of scenario, and that's what we're doing. And he's got plenty of other things he could be doing in that water system right now. So right now, like I said, I put a moratorium on him going after more than 10 of them right now out of the 60 plus. So those, let's figure this out.
Is it illegal to shut the water off?
It is not illegal. It is not the preferred manner or method of the state because of DOH rules. So
But it might get their attention.
I think the state has a philosophy that the in-village users have the ability to be essentially, have it applied to their village taxes, re-levied there and whatnot. We technically have the rights to re-levy where there's proper districts in Milton, although that is leading to a question. And when we finish consolidation of districts, that will hopefully help in that respect. But the same belief isn't as prevalent there, but our options will get spelled out in the district agreement too with respect to it. So it's muddled with respect to stuff outside of the Village of Ballston Spa, what we can do in those situations. So not to play the game of water jeopardy here that I've been accused of, but long story short is that we've got to figure out what our options are instead of wasting money.
One last question.
Yeah.
Are there any non-residential delinquents on that list?
Generally, commercials, he said, are going well.
Okay.
Because, it's usually, that's a, operating time of business scenario, so you can go anyway or get in anyway. So you may have to pre-arrange in certain cases, but he says that commercials have been a lot easier to go by than the residentials.
How successful are the postings for him going to the door? Is he seeing any?
You see a minor improvement. If he's posting maybe 10, 12 houses, he may get a 1 or 2 per return.
Yeah, it's pretty low. So I think the letter, because we had good feedback on that.
Well, the hammer in the letter was turning off the water, don't forget
Are
those.
they
So.
absentee landlord situations?
Some are, yes. There's a combination of what's going on here. That is one of the things that he explained to me. So, and it's good to be able to have the communication with him to see from one person what the experience is. So I appreciated the candor from him. It's just, this isn't okay anymore to just waste his time, his resources that we have from him. Speaking of water, the never-ending water rate discussion, we were getting emails this weekend from our friends in West Wind Hills, which is a classic case. They used to be 4X, the village rate, because they had a pump house that needed to be paid for. That before I took office went down to 3X. There is no 3X in the code, but 3X has been historically what water districts were built off of outside of the village. We went and found that we had storm sewers in sanitary sewer G and moved that, if you remember last year, to A. And in doing so, we lowered the cost of sewer and increased the cost of water inside the village only. And what that did was actually took the 3X to 2.79X now. So we're not actually 3 times the water rate anymore, but we're 2.79 times the water rate. The irony is that folks outside the village don't understand that village residents also pay a sewer fee on top of the water fee, which actually makes the multiplier down to 2X or less than 2X. I think it's 198 because of the way the math worked back when. And so they also don't want to recognize the Village of Ballston Spa taxpayers pay for a lot of things that capitalize into the system. For instance, when we have to do a $4.5 to $5 million DPW building or garage or set of buildings coming up, a good portion of that protects the fleet, the water department, etc., for that aspect of our system here. You don't just count the fact of where a water tower is or where a pipe runs under. We've got $500,000 vac truck that we've got to protect. That's mainly for the water system, and other equipment that is at least partially for the water system, and staff that are protected by a roof over their head or an office that's in there. And so we aren't looking to go collect on those things, but the taxpayers are paying for those things. And so we often get this complaint that, why are we paying 3 times the rate for water? No, in reality, folks outside the village are paying what we feel from looking at the entirety of the system, the cost to run the system, et cetera, reflects what market rate is and what the needs are beyond what we're already asking our taxpayers to do. Our taxpayers still pay for water, just not at the same rate because they're paying $5.99 $1,000 for assessed value for their property tax bills. And it's always a rub. I get it. I get the complaint, but I also get frustrated personally because folks don't seem to want to understand that villages like ours that own the water system and own the water have the right to handle it in this manner. We also have a respect level where we must be reasonable in what we charge outside users, and we are based on what we've seen from other water carriers or water systems in Milton. Town of Ballston charges almost double our rate per 1,000 gallons. They have a lower minimum, but if you use 30,000 gallons, which is our minimum, you'll pay nearly double at the end of the day for that same water if you're an outside user of the Town of Ballston system. It's not just them. I'm just giving you a local nearby example of that. So it's tough to measure apples and apples in this type of thing. I get that. But what we are able to do is take a broad look at the costs of water. That includes our debt towards some of the vehicles and other things that we've taken on, the debt toward the water towers, et cetera. Village users are going to have some interesting problems coming up because there are some very village system specific issues coming along the line. The pipes under our own streets here that will need to be replaced over time, the mains, et cetera. You know we have plenty of water main breaks in the wintertime. That's because the system's a little stressed because of the age. So those will have to be paid for or grants will need to be found, more on that in a second, for village or from village either coffers or grant finding opportunities. So we're going to be in an interesting spot for the millions of dollars that we're going to have to go find to modernize the system eventually. And folks outside need to understand we're not going to be able to charge for that to them because that's not their part of the system. It's not a system-wide improvement. And that's why these different baskets we talk about, towers are system-wide, but the pipe under Front Street isn't. It matters. And we keep track of that idea as we do this. So I just wanted to be clear that we do take good care in making sure we're not overcharging for this water system. We know Milltown Center is probably coming online, and when that revenue comes in, 2 things will happen. We'll spend some of it on the system itself, and we'll slow down increases because we won't need to probably have increases as fast to maintain the system at that point. We're cognizant of that. We get a lot of questions, and AI being what it is, people feed in their questions and thoughts, and then put your answers in and keep doing it and back and forth. I mean, it's become a hobby for some people. But Lord knows, we go through this every day, 4 years of this. A friend of mine asked me recently, oh, you're very knowledgeable in this. How long did it take you to, put something like that together in terms of a response? I said, 4.5 years. That's learning the system and learning what goes into it. So if folks think that we don't understand the questions and concerns, we do. It's just, it's not easy to run this water system. It's a business at the end of the day in terms of the way it's supposed to operate, where you're supposed to try to get the revenues and the expenses to meet. And we basically have done that based on what the figures show right now. Finally, parking. Got a lot of concerned individuals that wrote in. I understand it. Suddenly we're going to start issuing tickets, we said, although we're not going to put a PEO on, a park enforcement officer, until next year. So tracking 2-hour parking violations is not going to be easy for these folks. They're not going to be able to sit there for 2 hours, and they're not going to take their chalk out and mark the tires up. But, for the egregious violations that are easy to spot, we've asked them to ticket people at this point, starting today. Ellie? So is he. But some folks have brought up a never-ending problem that is sourced from years and years of concerns. Overnight parking. for people that live on Front Street and Bath Street especially. And people also called out that part of the code where we had said that there may be permits issued at some point for certain parking, et cetera. And my thought is maybe that's something we need to start exploring to allow for some level of overnight parking, or at least, something on Front Street and Bath Street within, some reasonable approach. I don't know what that is yet, but I think we also need to maybe finally get that parking committee together to talk about, especially a central business district parking, and then maybe some ancillary issues that others will bring to us in the meantime. Is there an appetite to have such a committee get together and possibly also get an engineering firm or consultant who specializes in reviewing these types of things to maybe help lead a group like that, so we have options put out to them to consider? Because there's some painful options. Parking meters are never loved. It wouldn't be parking meters at every space, but it could be a variety of parking in this village. But to understand the costs and the benefits of those things, they do cost money still to operate, so you may gain nothing from that at the end of the day if revenue was what you wanted from that. But is there an appetite for a parking committee is my real question here, and if so, do you want me to also get some quotes from consultants to see what we can get for leadership that way?
Yeah, I know the business community is interested in that. Different businesses are impacted in different ways. Some people need more short term, some people need a little longer for, spa services, for instance. So I know that there has been interest there. Parking was discussed as part of the Revitalize Bay Spa. So it's just, there's a continued want for, to look at that. I think there's enough parking. It's just the areas are, that are most popular is where we struggle the most, I think.
Is it worth spending $8,000 to $10,000, do you think, on a consultant to really work the process?
What are you expecting out of that, I guess?
Options, guidance, and perhaps somebody to help us do maybe some symposiums or whatever you want to call them, with the public, to get some public review and comment once certain options are maybe considered more likely than others.
I can see our public lots being worth looking at and striping. I don't know what that would look like or what the consultant can do, but I think that we could be more efficient there. I guess, I don't know if there's interest from other people, I don't know, but.
I think you bring up some good points, especially when we're looking, sorry.
You're fine. Love where you put it.
When we're thinking, well, where else am I?
Yeah,
All right, when we're thinking about our growth, and when you add that to a lot of the concerns, which we have been hearing for how long, right? We've all had our own concerns about parking at some point. So I think getting a quote is worth that,
We'll
at least for now, to see what the pricing would be.
Mary, any
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I think parking has been an issue, and there's probably a lot of alternatives that we haven't thought of that would alleviate a lot of the congestion in certain areas. Maybe getting the county parking lot, more advertisement that's free parking on the weekends.
My thought, though, right now would be also to not instruct for overnight parking ticketing, except for scenarios where we do have to clear those spots for an event or something like that.
Well, and I worry there's been a lot of issues with that. Clearing people, for one of the business events that they have.
Yep.
Had issues. And then,
But we usually do try to put the word out. We try at least.
yeah. But even then, that's hard. The plowing, though, too, how would that work in those seasons? That's one of the bigger issues, too.
We have to actually rework. I would like to refine what we did in February as the snow emergency rules we put into the vernacular at that point, and they worked overall well. I think some tweaks are necessary, and then maybe go and revise the parking law to get those into the parking law. I think that actually may be located somewhere else right now in the law too, so we'd have to rearrange where our laws are on that. But I think we can do that before December, working with Scott, because he was the one that helped us devise it in real time back then. What constitutes a snow emergency? Are we going to do odd even when there's no snow on the ground? How? Those are the questions we really need to look at. I think that's more a DPW look than it is even a committee look, because they're the ones that know what these streets look like after a storm or what they need to do or access for safety reasons. So I think they needed the first bite at that one no matter what. So yes, we've got to handle that, but it's separate, I think, from the committee. Paul, any thoughts?
Just not questions about how much parking do people think is really available on Front Street? If there's a building that's got 6 apartments in it, it's probably 25 feet wide. With diagonal parking, there's only 3 places outside in front of that building where we could actually park people.
We are, unfortunately.
So where are we getting these complaints from? Maybe we could address those areas.
I think what it's coming down to is that they feel like we would be draconian about the ruling or the rules. Technically, we're supposed to be. Obviously, we're trying to be a little practical here, and we're not going to take on PEO, and PEO wouldn't even deal with overnight probably anyway.
Yeah.
I think the messaging right now is when you see a notice on your car that says you can't park here overnight for an event or something like that, get out. Or if it's a snow emergency, get out.
Mm-hmm.
There are other spaces available, and we reserve the right to ticket and tow at that point because it's in the law. And I don't like cherry picking scenarios, but I also understand that set of complaints. I do.
Remind me, there's overnight parking allowed on Washington.
Some piece
right?
of it. I think the only
And
ones
then-
that have prohibition.
Well, I think Low Street allows overnight.
I think so too.
So, I mean, I think there is access. I think some folks choose to ignore some of the warnings. I don't mean to be mean like that, but we've given ample notice at times and it's ignored. So I don't know, maybe I'm being harsh, but
Explain what you're trying to say, I guess, I just want to make sure I
I
understand.
maybe educate, there is available overnight parking on these streets. And they're within a block. They're not, and I think you got to consider, folks with some disabilities, like, accessibility stuff, that's a different conversation. But I think one of the biggest issues is folks, you go to Albany, Schenectady, any of the other, Saratoga Springs, no one's expecting to park right in front of their house. We're in a kind of urban environment. It's, you sometimes have to walk a block, and I think we have to, I don't know, I think we need to consider it about, I'm worried about the plowing, but I guess it's got a better sort of plan.
We'll get there, yeah.
So I don't know, I think we need to look at maybe some education, not just, I don't want to be too harsh on people, I don't. But I think there was, I think one person that stayed in the same spot was it 2 years or last year? And like same spot for days on end, couldn't get the plowing done correctly there, so.
Officer, have you had experience with this type of question in any other jurisdiction besides here that you've seen?
I grew up in Albany, and it's a huge issue, especially and now especially with more other municipalities we're raising whole camera issue for capturing.
What about the overnight parking though on, let's say, city streets in Albany? How have they handled that? Because obviously they don't want people parking there all the time type of scenario because it's still a commercial district in most of those areas.
Right. The prime example is where the SUNY students live, off of Madison Avenue, like the old St. Rose.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like as you get into more residential, which is literally a block off that area, they just let them park because it's SUNY students. And it's expected that they would have access because there's no parking spaces on that street in that area. So I don't know if it's an understanding between the college area or something that's been allowed for years since the Jennings was mayor and in and out.
I think what we do is we batch it into the discussion in parking committee and any consultant we get to see what they recommend in those scenarios because I get what you're saying. I do. There are some disabilities, I think, in play in some of this,
to be clear,
for sure.
I want to separate that conversation.
Have a clear, precise explanation that's accessible in multiple places, especially when you wanted somebody that might have an autistic child or a child that needs special medical attention. Moving that child or doing something when it's a snow emergency
Hmm.
and having access that they have to get out or something. So parking system, you don't add, so that. This way it's HIPAA friendly and also keeping that personal information. And as a municipality and a business and the village, you'll know that's allowed. Then this way, you know, like, and the police department is like, hey, we post all our laws. We have to do this also in the village. What's your parking area? This way you kind of cover yourself legally in all cases. And you just say, no, it's covered. They have parking. That's the end of the story. It makes our job easier. It's already been addressed. And if somebody calls or sees a concerned citizen, I appreciate that, see something, say something, but there's also a provision in there that we have parking pass, we have parking limits. You don't have to go any further than discussing it. Like, we're bringing it to our attention, why the police want it. Fine. And we'll take over that, and we can do that. So, look, we addressed it, we looked at it, and had a parking permit, and we don't have to go any further than that. It covers everybody's all bases.
So that sounds like we would need guidance from a consultant.
I wouldn't mind it, I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you, because I think us sitting here or any committee sitting there would have great ideas, but the practicality and how they would actually execute, I think becomes always the concern. So let's see if we can get that to work. I will start to put together this over the next couple meetings worth. Probably it'll take a few weeks to get this right. And to get some ideas to everybody, and maybe we'll start seeking folks interested in the committee as well, so we can start getting interest on that as well. So,
In our zoning code, does it specify how many parking spots apartments are supposed to have?
it will, yes, and what will be coming out, we sort of took a better view of that question in the last pass. That should be hopefully in the very near future, where you've got to prove, if you're not going to meet the standard, you got to prove, and you're going to use on-street parking, prove the availability, especially during busiest hours. And if you're not going to meet it even with that, and why you wouldn't need to meet it. So essentially, you're going to have to put a parking plan together for any permit being sought, or variance or whatever you're trying to seek. Essentially, you're going to have to do a parking study or mini parking plan to justify it to the planning board. So we're giving instructions to the planning board, especially to say, okay, if you're going to issue a waiver, here's what you need to actually look at if they're not going to meet that number and they're going to try to use on street for some reason. There are some parts of East High Street that have nobody parked on that street at all, and there are parts of East High Street that have parking all the time. And so that the answer to that question will be very different from here to there. And that's kind of what you have to show, is the existence of parking and what the use of parking is in that zone if you're going to rely on something on the street. We understand that it's tough to just create parking spaces out of thin air, but we also can't have this inventory get drained any more than it already is in certain instances. Successful businesses are great that didn't need a parking, requirement at any point. I think we learned our lesson a little bit about maybe that went too far in the other direction of the pendulum, and it's time to maybe swing back a little bit and figure out how we accomplish more businesses, but without detrimental effects to our parking supply in that respect. It's a tough balance. It really is. Liz Bernadette as liaison, I definitely want the SBPA involved in this discussion, so make sure to bring it up at your next meeting as well if you can. I think it's an important topic, and we've heard a lot of feedback, I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of it a little bit off the deep end because they're not understanding these are already existing signs in most cases, but some very legitimate, like the overnight parking question for some of the people that do have handicap scenarios or disabilities or whatever going on. So, we read everything, but some of these stick out pretty well for us to understand. I'm tired of talking, but I will tell you that we do have a treasurer's report with charts and graphs, so I'm not going to read much on this. You go look at it inside of our attachments, but we had a flood of water and sewer payments coming into the village office. Thanks, Melissa. The first weekend in August, we're working on processing them and posting them to residents' accounts. Early in the collection period so far, we had received 38,000 in water and 8,000 plus in sewer. Foreign fire insurance tax, received that money from Milton, 16,876.81. That goes to the fire companies directly for foreign fire protection by law. And there's a tax analysis that's shown with respect to the bill taxes, the received taxes, the balance, and the penalties as well, which was well done by Melissa. And if she put that together, she gets an A+ for that. Having said that, it's liaison reports. Bernadette, take it away.
Real brief, BSBPA, they had their ice cream social. Thank you for this crew for scooping and handing out spoons. Glad the weather held off for a little bit. That's always a really good way to connect with community. We thank the BSBPA for doing that, and also the Union Firehouse Band for playing. Also, the concerts are continuing through September 3rd. They're on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Peach Fest is this upcoming Saturday. It's the 15th. That's from 9 to 1 at Wiswell Park. And also they're having other participants that are like existing businesses elsewhere. I believe the flyer had 25 participants, so that'd be great. It was packed last year. I hope it's packed again. I know they planned for larger crowds, so hopefully we'll all get peach treats. I'm gonna go early because I would like to get some treats. And then the car show registration is open. It's hard to think about that, but we're gonna be in October soon. So that's all I've got.
Two things. First, Melissa sent me a note that I'm the best for complimenting her charts. Second, Swimming Under the Stars. I gave out more of the spoons of Swimming Under the Stars. I'm going to say.
I couldn't go to that. So.
Yep. So but it was a great crowd over there. I'm not sure if anybody else's report will cover that, but thanks to Kate Garis and the entire staff for doing a great job. To the Lions Club for staffing the food. Bob Kavanaugh there as well, and Mary Kavanaugh and the Akaris. So a lot of this same folks every year. They love that event, and we love them for doing it. It's so tremendous each year. Mary, go ahead.
Okay, just a reminder, Family Fun Day is next Sunday, August 16th. Quiet hours, well, that's Sunday, right?
This Sunday, yep, this Sunday coming up.
Quiet hours at 2 to 3 p.m., general public 3 to 9, and fireworks at 9. Bounce houses, crafts, music, food, games, prizes, and school supplies will be available, as well as a free bike raffle for a girl and a boy. The library has their final Wonderful Wednesday event, which is this Wednesday. It's the Last Dig Pizza Party, Wednesday, August 12th, noon to 1, and there's a limit of 25 participants, so contact the library to register. And the evening book discussion on Thursday, August 13th at 6:30 will be featuring We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. And the library book sale this past weekend made around $2,500, which will go back into supporting the library.
Very
So
good.
this room was full of books.
Yeah.
Ellie, did you buy a book?
I gave books.
You gave books, even better. I like it. Thank you. Charlie.
All right. The Committee on the Arts asked you to check the village calendar as they plan to reschedule this Wednesday's meeting. So stay tuned for that. The committee also asked that you save the date of August 22nd as this year's first ever art fair. The event will run 12 to 4, mainly on Front Street and in the parks there, but follow their Facebook page as businesses throughout the village will be participating too. And Park and Tree will meet Tuesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. in the Cornell Cooperative Conference Room. And the Historic District Commission will meet September 10th at 7 p.m., 90 East High Street.
Thank you. And Paul.
Let's see, DPW, they completed 2 water and sewer taps for the new houses on West High Street. Those taps are actually on Ballston Avenue.
They pave that actually tomorrow for those wondering.
They're continuing street preparation for the paving list with 4 streets ready to be milled and paved. They've replaced 3 catch basins and repaired 4. They successfully set up for Swimming Under the Stars. and they're working on the water meter list. They've replaced about 10 broken meters. And then lastly, they removed the underground fuel storage tank at the garage with the help of Labella and DEC. I don't know if you're going to cover that under new business, but there is a leak.
There was a leak. DEC has given us the ability to mitigate that once we do the building itself. So there will need to be a dig out. They're just going to document what they're finding, finish the testing and everything else. We weren't shocked by that by any stretch of the imagination, but DEC is working with us in kind. Obviously, it adds a little bit of extra money to the situation. We are insured with either a $100,000 or $1 million deductible. I'm not sure which applies here. We're trying to work to figure that out, but we don't believe either one's going to be applicable here because this is work that can be performed by DPW. It's more equipment-based, and then getting rid of the material that is, for lack of a better term, dirty at that point with respect to that. We appreciate DEC's candor about how we should be handling it and also flexibility. So thank you to them as well on that question.
And then as there is a planning board meeting this Wednesday, August 12th. It's not at the library as usual. It's at the Elks Club. It starts at 6:30. Tannery Commons is going to be presented again.
Yep. Last I saw, I don't know for sure, there may be like 2-minute public comment allowed on that one by Scott as chair. One note is that this still needs a zoning board action. We believe that is a special use permit from last I saw, the things going across my emails and whatnot. So I think it's a special use permit that's being required, not a variance. So that'll probably get explained on Wednesday, but if this is not the final act and it's not the planning board making the decision, they do have to still wait for the zoning board with respect to that action coming up. Okay, I basically covered any old or new business in mayor's announcements. So anybody else have anything?
No, not announcements. That would be later. I'm sorry. Ignore me.
I won't ignore you, but I'll just keep going.
Practice.
Public comment on any issue, 3 minutes. So if you're on Zoom, this would be a time to raise your hand if you'd like to say anything for those 3 minutes. I think I see Liz in my peripheral vision with a hand up. Is that right? See that?
Wasn't a comment, but was from 89 Hyde. On the parking, I think it would be a good idea to, get a consultant in, somebody with expertise in solving parking issues. But what I'd like, having been involved in this topic back years, even before I was on the board, on a committee, that you sort of expand it to include the lots we have, not just parking spaces, and have more of a parking study to really look at what do we have today, with the county and the other lots on Front Street, and then review what are the needs. And I just think you ought to be careful about selectively enforcing, because that could lead to issues with people if you don't enforce the code evenly. And I know you don't want to, for some people, but if you let one person, then the next person, may not.
We might actually, for the time being, cover the no overnight parking signs because they're not visible, they're not ticketable. That's one option for the time being, and then when we determine what we're going to do with them, uncover them at that point. That might be the way to not be selectively enforcing at that point. But then when we have a restriction specific, we do the normal papering up of a vehicle to say, please move your car, and put clear signage out there. It's probably the way to do it, Liz, is what I've been leaning toward. So we'll be discussing that.
One thought on the lots is to allow overnight parking in the public lots, up until if there's, people are good getting out. there, you know, like the lot right here, you could allow overnight parking there. And that might be a solution. But definitely getting some expertise and frankly, looking at what other communities have done to solve the problem. Because it's a problem everywhere.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none and seeing none, we do need an executive session tonight. What am I doing here? Let's see, to discuss the employment history of an applicant. We do not expect to take action with respect to this, but you're welcome to come back in after we are ready. So at this point, can I get a motion to enter executive session for that reason?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everybody will have to exit, and then we will let you know when we're back in session. Thank you. And we're back here, and no action will be taken. So, may I have a motion that the vouchers be audited and the meeting be adjourned at 8:08 p.m.? Trustee Dubuque. Trustee Fandesa beat you to it. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. See everybody August 24th for our next meeting.